Well, Eric, thank you so much for joining us here at International Telecoms Week. It's fantastic to speak to you today, and we're going to be talking about diversity, equity and inclusion because Verizon has made some huge strides in this area. So to begin, can you give me a highlights rundown of what's been happening at Verizon and some of your biggest achievements of late?
Absolutely. Appreciate it, Melanie, so much. Your excellent question. We're really proud of the work that we're doing at Verizon right now, particularly around diversity, equity, and inclusion. It's been a big focus for us for some period of time because we clearly believe, as we look at the customers that we serve, it's a very diverse community and society. And we want to make certain that whether it's the folks that we employ or how we go to market, that we're always being inclusive in the work that we do. Great partnerships that we're doing across our employee resource groups. So a great opportunity to make certain whether it's veterans, people with disabilities, ethnicities, sexism, et cetera, ageism. These are all topics that we really take a very proactive role in at Verizon each and every day. We've actually done things, for example, at the historical Black colleges and universities. We go and provide internships to make certain that we get a new feeder pool of employees in, and we also go and provide full-time jobs in those areas as well. From our women's work, we do a lot of work because we think gender imbalance is a constant issue we need to take a look at. As women make up more than 50% of the population, how do we make certain that we provide training, invest, mentoring, coaching workshops so that we can help advance their careers so they can get director and C-level positions in the corporation. So those are kind of a few things that we're doing in this particular space, but we're really excited about the work because once again, we think a more inclusive society, a more inclusive workforce really allows us not only to be good business, but it's the right thing to do.
And for those companies who maybe aren't as advanced on their DEI journey as Verizon is, could you share some tips on how they can maybe get started or enhance their work?
Sure, absolutely. I mean, more and more we think about it. We try to set up as thought leaders at Verizon, a corporation of 120-some thousand employees. And we think it's important that by us basically setting an example and leading by example, we can help the overall industry, as well as outside of our industry, really take on approaches to improve in the work that they're doing as well. For example, folks that have been on this journey for a while, Melanie, we've found, they find how important it is at the CEO level. And when it's driven by the CEO level, it perpetuates itself throughout the corporation at the end of the day. And we're excited about that. And so what we've tried to do is, for example, go and partner with other companies that maybe are not as far along in the journey or different geographies. They look at marginalized individuals in a different way. And so we need to think about geographically as well as marginally, how do we continue to care for each and every body in our society and the world that we live in today? And so we want to be a part of that journey. We've offered to do employee resource group panels at different companies so that we can kind of be a live example of the things that we're doing and then open up dialogue and discussion real time. We think that really makes a difference. And then here, as a part of ITW at the Global Leaders Forum, we really are partnering with like 30 carriers across the globe right now to really advance this decision. Regardless of where you are in the journey, we think it's important that we kind of help drive awareness and get to a point where you go from crawling to walking and running to make a positive difference.
It's great that you mentioned the Global Leaders Forum there because you actually released the Diversity, Inclusion and Belonging report this week here at ITW in 2022. So tell me about the highlights in that report and what you've actually found in the industry.
No, excellent. We're excited because this is our third report that we released out of the Global Leaders Forum. I so happen to be the chair of the working group for what we call diversity, inclusion, and belonging. We include the equity piece of that, but we really call it kind of diversity, inclusion, and belonging. So we put our first paper out in gender imbalance, and we thought that was important. A lot of the carriers voted that that was one of the biggest issues that we wanted to care for at the time. So we're excited to once again remind folks that that data is out there, a repository, to leverage and use that as they see fit on gender imbalance. Once again, as I said earlier, you're looking at the changes in the workforce, you look at over 50% of women in our population. How do we make certain, even with COVID and the pandemic, more women came out of the workforce to take care of elder care or helping with children learning at home than men did? And we don't want to go backwards, so we want to continue to make strides. So that was one. Then the next year, we put out last year our racial equity paper. So that's the second, we believe, industry first white paper talking about racial equity. And what do we do to make certain that people of color get the same opportunities for advancement and employment, advancement in their careers as any other employee in the corporation? So we're excited about that. But to your point, it was great yesterday to be able to announce that we released our third industry first, we believe, white paper. This one is on inclusivity. And how do we make sure that people feel included and that they belong and that their voice are heard? So we're excited about the data in that report, similar to gender, similar to people of color, really trying to say, how do you make people feel that they're included each and every day? And we found that people that have been on the journey a while, you'll see in this report, clearly are continuing to do good work in this regard, if you will. CEO levels are definitely involved and engaged in the work that's taking place there. And that does make a difference. They'll have employee resource groups. They'll have workshops. They'll do courageous conversations on these type of issues. And what we found is new respondents for the first time that are just starting this journey, we could see that there were kind of different cohorts there. Cohort 1, where they've been reoccurring in this space, or cohort 2, which is kind of just starting on this particular journey. And what do we do to make certain we all get on a baseline? And then what do we do to improve our performance? Whether you've been doing this for a while, don't become complacent. And if you're new on the journey, how can we accelerate your walk, your crawl, your walk to your run, if you will?
That's fascinating. Thanks, Eric. Let's also talk telecoms as well.
Okay.
Because we heard recently about this Extreme Networks deal. Does this mean that Verizon is now back into the rest of the world after a bit of an absence outside the US?
No, it's exciting. I know everyone's talking about the Extreme Networks partnership that we put out there, but we've been doing partnerships like this across the globe for some period of time, not just domestic US, but globally. For example, our big 5G lab sitting in London, and we're continuing to do things like private 5G across the board on a global basis. So this is one of those type of partners, similar to in the US where we talk about our big Super Bowls and NFL. Here's a great opportunity for us on a more global basis to really make certain that we're making a difference relative to, hey, the hockey league, the kind of the football league, and what work is being done across the board to provide a more immersive experience when users are there. And so we think it's a great collaboration, a great partnership, and we continue to look for opportunities like that. I run our global wholesale division, so it's exciting to me because not only is this helping us do work in Asia Pac, but what else are we looking at, say, in Europe, as well as what are we going to do eventually even more so in the Latin America space. So we're excited about the investments. We continue to look at good partnerships that we believe can provide the benefits of kind of a 5G, and once again, kind of having that high bandwidth requirements, get rid of latencies in your networks, and provide a more immersive experience for our customers and our users at the end of the day.
And can you talk to me a little bit more about the business opportunities for wholesalers, particularly in sports? And it's even though it's a consumer angle, there is still that wholesale call there. So what is the business opportunity, and how big do you believe this is now with the dawn of 5G?
Yeah, we think it's a tremendous opportunity. I mean, we think about the investment we're making. Verizon would not even make these type of investments if we didn't see that there's a return on this, and it's actually better for our customers. It's better for our employees, our shareholders, and society. So therefore, we really are pushing the 5G journey. We're continuing to push kind of our multi-access edge compute journey. So once again, you drive latency out of the network. And to your point, what are the things that we can do, from whether it's autonomous cars, what can we do with robotic surgery, getting the best of the best wherever they are in the world to assist us. So we think that these are the type of opportunities that will go from automobiles to healthcare to what do we do in your question to the sports arena, and giving this more immersive experience, getting real-time data, real-time stats that come out as soon as something happens. How do you compare that touchdown to the last time that person ran, those type of things, or in soccer league and what we do in the hockey space. So we think there's a lot of opportunities that 5G is going to provide, because once again, these are big content-rich type of opportunities that need bandwidth, and bandwidth without any latency, so you're almost feeling like you're immersed and it's real time happening, and you're not missing anything from a delay standpoint because the bandwidth in the network can support it.
Excellent. Well, let's talk about the future now and strategic priorities. In your role as President of Partner Solutions at Verizon, what are your strategic priorities between now and mid-23?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that we look at from now to 2023 is how do we continue to get a growth narrative in this industry. Once again, we believe we have a right because communications is one of the biggest things that we can take advantage of in this particular space. So one of the biggest priorities we'll say is, hey, what are we going to do with 5G? Once again, what are the use cases? Support manufacturing, healthcare, sports, retail, you name it, any type of vertical market out there. We believe 5G is going to be that big super highway that allows this more and more to kind of push these bandwidth intensive products and services forward. I think the second piece of that is going to be the piece on what I said earlier about multi-access edge computing. What is edge computing? It's like, let the power of all of this transactional activity go take place in the cloud. But once you actually do that, you're once again kind of being closer to the edge, and therefore you don't have any delay or latency in your network. So we want to continue to push more and more use applications that support kind of edge computing in this particular space. I think the third thing we're going to look more and more for is what are new opportunities? Because right now, there's going to be more and more applications that are done, whether it's video conferencing, security type services where we're doing, or the Internet of Things, where connections on connections on connections will continue to make us a kind of a connected and global environment. And how do we leverage that from the bandwidth needs and the latency needs that are in the industry right now, and once again, leverage that to move ourselves forward. And the last piece I would tell you is about partnerships. I think more and more we provide a lot of network and network connectivity, and we're really big on our network as a service, whether that's our traditional services like our Ethernet services, our Wave, our internet services. But even beyond that, how do we start looking above the network? And what new applications and platforms can we take advantage of? Whether, as I said earlier, it could be the security, it could be IoT, or more and more what are the things that we're doing in, say, in video conferencing.
The future sounds fantastic.
Yes, we're trying.
Eric, thanks so much for talking to us today. It's been great.
Yep.